Thank you. You know, snacking's a big part of that TV football season, so let's kick off that season with some cheese, glorious cheese. Here's how. You slice some fruit, eat it with cheese during a game. Breadsticks, eat them with cheese during a game, or eat cheese plain during a game. Halftime, go to the store, stock up on cheese, eat it during a game. Till next time, I'm the Hasty Gourmet. Bye-bye.
Cheese, glorious cheese.
This is amazing. Max, how come we've never seen this show before?
Well, Carl, according to Professor Ecky's calculations, we would have to be about 25 to 30 light years away from Earth right now. So basically, we're not picking up current transmissions from Earth. We can't do that without quantum entanglement. This show's from the past.
Wait, are you saying that our spaceship is a time machine?
Kind of, but not really in the way that you're
A
thinking.
time machine? We could change the course of history.
Yes, Carl, it's a time machine.
We interrupt this broadcast of RollerGames presented by Cheese to bring you breaking news. The terrorist group known as Viper has kidnapped the commissioner of RollerGames, one Skeeter Bankhead. They claim they will release Mr. Bankhead if he relinquishes control of the company to the group's mysterious leader.
This is it. This is our chance to change the course of history.
By fighting rollerblading terrorists?
Oh, come on, Max. We're Americans. Fighting terrorists is in our blood.
Where are you going?
Isn't it obvious, Max? Roller skates. We need roller skates.
Is there a possibility that we're not actually twins?
RollerGames is a beat-em-up platforming game released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990. It was developed by RollerGames, which was basically just Konami in disguise. RollerGames only existed to overcome Nintendo's restriction on third-party companies, which limited the amount of games they could release on the NES to 5 per year. Konami said screw that and created RollerGames.
Konami is best known today for being universally hated by everyone associated with the video game industry, exotic pachinko machines, and Metal Gear. But back in the late 90s, they were known for being universally loved, pachinko machines, and Castlevania.
RollerGames is based on the short-lived but incredibly popular RollerGames television series, which ran for one season between 1989 and 1990. It was basically roller derby mixed with pro wrestling inspired production and theatrics. If that sounds awesome, it's mostly because it was.
Unfortunately, despite the show's success, producers were forced to file for bankruptcy in 1990 as their other projects all apparently sucked.
But before that happened, Konami was hired to produce 2 video games based on the IP, one arcade game and one Nintendo game.
The arcade game tries to authentically recreate the action from the show, and does a good job. Players fly around the roller rink, jockeying for positions, throwing punches, elbows, and kicks. The gameplay is fast, the production values are top-notch. Obviously, the Nintendo Entertainment System was incapable of delivering the same experience at home, so when the time came to designing a Nintendo version of the game, everything had to be reworked.
RollerGames was designed by Nobuya Nakazato and Koichi Kimura, who got their start in the industry as game testers for the 1988 Konami game, The Adventures of Bayou Billy. From there, they became graphic artists for the 1989 Game Boy game, Castlevania: The Adventure.
So these two went from game testers to graphic artists to game designers all in a couple of years. Why can't my career be like that?
RollerGames was programmed by Yoshiaki Yamada and Masato Maegawa, and someone credited as Sai. Yoshiaki Yamada joined Konami in 1986 as a programmer for the Nintendo action game King Kong 2. Ikari no Megatan Punches! Masato Maegawa joined Konami in 1989 and worked closely with Yoshiaki Yamada to produce Castlevania: The Adventure. Isai has no other video game credits and may have used a nickname on this project.
There were 4 sound designers for RollerGames: Norio Hanzawa, Kashihiko Suzuki, Shigematsu Matsuo, and Atsushi Fujio. Norio Hanzawa is yet another member of the team that made Castlevania: The Adventure, handling the sound design for that game. Katsuhiko Suzuki joined Konami in 1988 to work on Twin B3, Poco Poco Daimao. Shigematsu Matsuo also joined Konami in 1988 and worked on the infamous YY World, a game in which King Kong and Mikey from the Goonies joined forces with Konami characters. And finally, Atsushi Fujio was the composer for the 1988 NES game Salamander, released in the US as Life Force. RollerGames has good sound effects and music. Admittedly, the music could be a bit better. It's adequate, but there aren't enough standout tracks you'll go out of your way to listen to.
RollerGames is a good-looking NES game. You can tell it's from Konami. I mean, just look at it. Characters have the patented faceless design used in many of their NES titles. The graphics take advantage of the hardware and have a very clean style, so it's easy enough to identify what you're looking at. Any problems I have with them are nitpicky at best. The digitized photographs aren't bad for 8-bit hardware, but the manager for Bad Attitude, Miss Georgia Haas, sort of looks like an old man. There's some nice animations like the water, swinging wrecking balls, or fire traps, although character animations could be better. The parallax scrolling really adds depth to the highway levels and look great. I would have liked to see the effect used in some other levels, but it's still a good looking game overall, and it runs smoothly.
Having to ditch the roller derby gameplay mechanics of its arcade counterpart, RollerGames for the NES comes with a 90s storyline that can only be described as extreme!
Is nothing sacred. RollerGames, the 21st century's most popular thrill sport, is the latest victim of Viper, vicious international punks and eternal renegades. With their greedy eyes on RollerGames' mega prize money, they've corrupted 3 teams and kidnapped Emerson Skeeter Bankhead, the game's beloved commissioner. You and your 3 teams of righteous skate kings must stop Viper's criminal venom from infecting the entire city.
I don't know about you, but that had me at vicious international punks and eternal renegades. Let's do this!
RollerGames has 6 levels, each with its own theme and boss encounter. The game opens with a shot of the RollerGames arena and cuts to real-life commentators David Sams and Chuck Underwood. They explain that Skeeter Bankhead has been kidnapped and the 3 good teams can only rescue him. You heard that right. The cops can't handle it, the National Guard be damned. But a few good people on roller skates, these are the people you call to deal with terrorists. The T-Birds, the Rockers, and the women's team Hot Flash.
What's wrong with Hot Flash?
I'll tell you later. Each team plays slightly differently, following conventional beat-em-up standards. T-Birds are slow but hit harder. Hot Flash is fast but hit weaker. And the Rockers are a balance between the two. It's all nice in theory, but in practice, they all pretty much play the same.
Alright, I'm all geared up to fight terrorists.
Do you even know how to roller skate?
Max, roller skating is like riding a bicycle, okay? You never forget.
But you've never done this in your life?
But I have ridden a bicycle. Alright, time to roll on some terrorists. Senor X, give me a push. That was a wall. As long as there's no walls out there, I should be fine.
The game plays like every other beat-em-up on the NES, but with a few twists thrown in. The obvious gimmick is that your character is on roller skates, which means you don't stop instantly. Terrain will affect your character's movement and momentum. So with this in mind, level designs emphasizes on precise maneuvering and platforming. More than a traditional beat-em-up, RollerGames is broken up into 4 gameplay sequences. There are the obstacle sections, in which the player can face up, down, left, and right as they travel through the stage and punch gang members in the face. You also have to avoid things like holes, bombs, barrels, and fire traps. Then there are the traditional beat-em-up sections, where you're limited to facing left and right, and have to beat up a predetermined number of enemies before proceeding through the next stage. Occasionally there are auto-scrolling sections which has the player fly down a highway from hell as they try to avoid everything from crumbling infrastructure, cars, dogs, even birds.
You would think a terrorist group called Viper would have some snakes.
Finally, there are boss battles, which usually involves beating up someone or avoiding obstacle onslaughts for an extended periods of time.
Being a beat-em-up game on the NES, the controls and fighting mechanics are simple. You attack with the B button and jump with the A button. You can jump kick. Pressing both A and B at the same time performs a special move that can only be done 3 times per life. You can grab stunned enemies to deliver more hits and toss them over your head. Being up close allows you to deliver harder strikes, which knocks the enemies down for a couple seconds. RollerGames isn't a long game in theory. It's technically possible to complete in about 30 minutes, but obviously being an NES game, that's not going to happen on your first attempt. RollerGames is an extremely challenging game that favors fast play and patient level memorization. Luckily, there are checkpoints and infinite continues, so it's not hopeless. That is, until you reach the final boss of the game. Nothing in the game prepares you for it. You're just suddenly face to face with a lightning-fast enemy that constantly attacks and jumps around. They're not even wearing roller skates, for Christ's sake. Not only is it hard as hell, but it feels really out of place and lazily programmed. However, if you listen carefully to the jumping sound effects the boss makes, you can find your opening to attack. At least that's how I did it. If one manages to defeat the final boss, Skeeter Bankhead is set free. RollerGames is able to continue their normally scheduled programming, and the world is a better place for all.
To the extreme!
RollerGames is one of the more overlooked Konami games on the NES library. Everyone knows about Contra, Castlevania, and Ninja Turtles, but you don't hear many people talking about RollerGames. Sure, the beat-em-up mechanics are basic stuff, but when mixed with roller skate physics, platforming sections, and obstacle courses, it makes for a varied and refreshing gameplay experience. The level design is mostly smart, there are no unnecessary padding, and the broken-up action is well-paced. And while it is a very hard game, the difficulty is tempered with reasonable checkpoints and infinite continues.
A few things keeps the game from being top tier. Even at the time the fighting mechanics were played out. The main characters have no personality and play too similarly. There's nothing in the way of upgrades, special weapons, or item pickups which would have made things more interesting. There's not enough variation in enemy types or attack patterns. The final boss comes out of nowhere with a spike in difficulty that feels lazily programmed. However, I still consider RollerGames a must-have title for my NES library. It's difficult, fast-paced action with precise controls and that classic Konami polish that we all know and love and miss. Great graphics, good sound, solid gameplay. And to top it all off, it's not expensive. I see RollerGames all the time going for like $5. If you enjoy brutally difficult NES games that don't suck, you should check out this Konami hidden gem.
And while you're at it, play RollerGames at your local arcade and watch some footage from the television show. Roller Derby is seeing a bit of resurgence right now, so who knows? Maybe we haven't seen the last of RollerGames.
What the hell, Max? Senor Ekis just told me there is no time machine. Why didn't you tell me I was being stupid?
I always tell you you're being stupid.
That's always your excuse. What in the hell am I supposed to do with all this roller skating gear?
Breaking news brought to you by Cheese. The terrorist group known as the Empire has declared war on the Federation forces. Unsubstantiated rumors indicate they are trying to clone Hitler in a plot to take over the world. We've been assured that this will not affect the sale of cheese.
Senor Ekis, come here. I need you to turn this roller skating gear into some sort of weapon. We're going after Hitler. Or Hitler clone or whatever. I'll be in my study.
What study? Don't you mean the bar?
Bar, study, tomato. Ooh, tomatoes. I'm gonna make a Bloody Mary.
I gotta ask you again. Are you sure we're twins?